With the stock market on a roller coaster ride and inflation gnawing at your savings, how do you ensure that your retirement accounts are not just secure but thriving? Welcome to the Financial Update. I'm your host, Cabot, and today we'll unravel the secrets of maximizing 401ks, pensions, and advanced investment strategies to help you and your retirement stay on track. Joining us to discuss is Mike Martinez. He's president of the Pension Group, a firm that has been helping people build a more secure retirement for over 30 years. Mike, let's kick off with one of the cornerstones of retirement savings, the 401k. Why do you think these are so popular?
Well, thanks, Cabot, for having me. Cabot, the 401k isn't really popular. It's just widely available. Back in the early 80s, it was all about pension plans. And then employers came out with this thing called a 401k. Now today, many employers offer this type of account as a retirement savings vehicle for current employees.
Mike, I know I used one through much of my career, but are 401ks the best vehicle to save for your retirement?
That really depends on your situation, but any account that lets you save for retirement is a good thing. This can be a pension, like many of our clients who work for major automotive, telecom, insurance companies, or the state of Ohio. You need to be aware that a 401k or any retirement account is just that, an account. They are not a substitute for a retirement plan.
Well, that's been noted. Great point. So back to the 401k. They are seemingly everywhere, and with economic uncertainties, fluctuating markets, how can someone make the most of a 401k?
These are very common accounts, and there are several ways to help make sure they're better suited for your needs. These include 401k maximization, like making sure you're contributing the company match, regular rebalancing your portfolio to maintain your desired risk level as you approach retirement. Now, you got to watch out for fees associated with these investments contained within them, but you'd be surprised that some people pay thousands of dollars in these fees without even realizing it. Diversification is important, the investment mix without having too much overlap. This can be tricky for a DIY, but a seasoned financial advisor should be more than equipped to help in this regard. In fact, a lot of people that are invested in a target date fund within their employer, let's say it's a 20-30 fund, typically those funds are about 70% stocks, 30% bonds, but what most people don't realize is that 38% of the portfolio is in international. And 16 out of the last 17 years, Cabot, international has underperformed U.S. domestic equity. So we help scale back the amount that's in international when it comes to 401k plans.
Okay, so you know the answers to this. I certainly don't. What are the common pitfalls that you need to avoid?
One common mistake is not adjusting your investment strategy as you age. As we approach retirement, it's important to shift from maybe something that's really aggressive to maybe something that's more moderate or conservative or stable so that we can generate income throughout retirement. Also, be wary of those higher fees in 401k plans. These can erode your returns over time. One of the major pitfalls of a 401k is that it's highly taxed, meaning you put pre-tax dollars in, and when the money comes out, who do we have to pay? Uncle Sam. And when you go through the withdrawal of those funds, it can be costly throughout retirement. This is true for many Americans, retirement accounts all across the country, including 401ks, IRAs, to pensions, and even Social Security can be taxed.
Wow, that might be new info to some of our viewers out there, certainly to me. That's very great advice, but are there some other ways?
Luckily, there are other ways to combat these pitfalls. Within 401k plans or 403bs, you can actively manage those plans with what we call brokerage link. We work with hundreds and hundreds of people each and every year, giving them more options of where we can actively manage their portfolios, from major hospitals herein throughout Central Ohio, or insurance companies and or automotive or telecom. We can show them different options than the limited options that they have within their current plan. The second area that I would say is important is rebalancing or restructuring out of a high fee investment can save you significantly. Also, tax solutions do exist like conversions. This is where you shift assets from high taxable accounts like a 401k to no tax like a Roth IRA. The timing of this conversion is key, though, to avoid it from affecting other areas of your retirement.
Boy, that's great info right there, Mike. And we're just getting started. So let's take a short break. And when we come back, we'll dive into effectively managing what some may consider to be a rare sight these days, pensions. Stay with us.
For the past 26 years, the Pension Group has been providing Central Ohio with custom solutions for all their retirement needs, from investment and income plans to estate planning and healthcare. But one of the main areas we focus in on is taxes. That's because taxes could be the single greatest risk to your wealth, and our team can help you reduce or possibly eliminate your tax bill altogether.
Time for a bonus. Here's an extra segment of the financial update just for you.
Many economists are predicting that taxes will continue to rise over the next couple of years. So what impact is that going to have on your retirement savings? Joining us to discuss is Mike Martinez, president of the Pension Group, a firm that has been helping people build a more secure retirement for over 30 years. Mike, what do you think the future has in store for tax rates?
I believe the greatest risk to wealth is really taxes. And keep in mind that for most of your retirement accounts, like a 401k, IRA, or even a pension, the IRS has a lien really on those assets that could take away a huge portion of your wealth at any time.
So what would that mean for people in or near retirement?
For many Americans, it could mean losing 30, 40, maybe even 50% of your wealth over time. So we really need to change the way we think about taxes today. We just met with a couple who are great savers. They had over $1 million saved, but it was all in a 401k and IRA. And it could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars taken away from taxes in retirement. What's more, under some of the recent Secure Act changes from Congress, it could cost their kids even more to inherit that money. But they've made the decision to get a second opinion, and through our tax analysis, we're able to show them how a multi-year tax strategy could possibly eliminate that risk and potentially put all that money back where it belongs, in their pocket.
Catch more of the financial update with Mike Martinez and Cabot Ray. 2-minute retirement news and updates to help you stay informed and stay ahead.
Welcome back. We're here with Mike Martinez of the Pension Group discussing how to maximize your retirement accounts. We've discussed optimizing your 401k, and now it's time to focus on pensions. Mike, with the rise of 401k plans, pensions might seem like a relic, but they're still vital for many. How can people make the most out of their pension?
Well, Cabot, you're right. I mean, let's face it, employers today, very few are even offering pension benefits unless you work for the state. You know, if you're police, fire, like my dad's a retired fireman, or, you know, you're a teacher, whatever the situation might be, a state job, they're always going to have those pensions to rely on. But there's still a lot of major corporations here throughout the area that really offer pension plans to retirees. Now they're becoming more and more less common, but they still do exist. And the core, in certain industries like automotive, telecom, there's many of our clients who still work, and they need to be advised on what's happening to pensions. Obviously pensions can provide guaranteed income with huge advantages, but people have this dilemma of, when I retire, should I take a pension from a company or should I take the lump sum? Now I know when you retired, you didn't have that option at the station when you retired, but today more and more companies are offering this thing called a lump sum option, and it might be 500, it might be $1 million. We've had clients have over $2 million in lump sum pensions, and it's a huge decision to take. Should I take that monthly check? The biggest concern I see facing people when it comes to pensions, if you take the check from the company, one, is the company going to be there for you? Will they be bought out? Two, you get into a situation, if you take that monthly check, what ends up happening if something happens to you or your spouse? None of that benefit goes to your children. So you're not really creating a financial legacy. If you take the lump sum as an example, you need to be prepared to live within a budget. You get into a situation where all of a sudden you get $500, $1 million along with your 401k, and you treat it as, wow, I hit the lottery, and I'm not going to live on that $40,000 or $50,000. I'm going to pull $200,000, $300,000 out. What happens in that scenario to that person is they're probably going to outlive their money. So understanding how the pros and cons work is extremely important. But what a lot of people don't realize is that they could lose money in their pension. A lot of people thought that their pensions were safe. And when I say safe, just a few years ago when we started seeing massive increases to interest rates, people were losing anywhere from 100, 200. We saw someone lose over $400,000 in his lump sum pension.
Oh.
So again, just because you have a pension, you need to understand when the right time is to retire. A lot of companies here, usually it's 12/31. Different companies, it might be 3/1. Throughout throughout Ohio. And again, these are important things for people to understand.
Yeah, as you mentioned at the time, and I'm grateful for my pension, but I didn't have that option of a lump sum. But now a lot of companies are offering that, so it's good to know the risks on both sides there. Tell me, how would you coach a person to make sure that they make the correct strategic decision with their pension?
Well, one of the things I say, when we sit down with someone is we look at their pension docs, make sure that there's no pension mistakes or errors. That's the most important thing. And we analyze really what's the best option and explain to them that, look, if you take the pension from the company, is the company going to continue to pay that monthly benefit to you and or your spouse? Unfortunately, none of that money goes to your heirs. And then we'll take a look at lump sum. Do we want to have that money? Let's say it's a $500,000, $1 million lump sum. Do we want to have all that money in the market? Or do we want to have some type of guarantees in place? Because again, one of the things that attracted a lot of our retirees is when they retired, they wanted to have a guaranteed source of income that they would not outlive. Whereas we can do the same thing, give them a guaranteed type of income with annuities that are designed to provide guaranteed income for life. But the difference of it is whatever's not used, it would actually go to the beneficiaries. So when you understand the fundamental differences, I really scratch my head and say, why would someone take a pension from a company? Well, and I would simply say this: if you don't know how to live within your means or don't know how to live within a budget, by taking the pension from a company, certainly is going to make you live within a budget. Maybe you only get $2,000 a month. But with today's interest rates being so high, we've actually run into a couple of situations where people now are getting lump sum offers, which when they retired didn't have it, but now companies are now giving them lump sum opportunities. And today's payout factors, because interest rates are so high, we can compete with that single life annuity from the company and give them more flexibility. And we just had a couple clients come in here recently where we're able to do that. So then that's a way where when we do that analysis, that can really be custom tailored to their specific needs.
Yeah, a lot of questions I'm sure you get. You're dealing with things like life expectancy and so forth. That's all part of the process here as you advise in retirement. What if someone does not have a pension? What should they focus on instead?
For those really, Cabot, without pensions, it might be best to focus on a way to build one on their own. We help clients build their own personal pensions all the time. These provide consistent, reliable income to replace that paycheck, so you don't have to miss a beat in retirement. And if the market decides to go down, you still have that guaranteed source of income that's reliable, that continues to go in that mailbox each and every month.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about a personal pension. So what would one look like?
We develop diversified portfolios that include things like guaranteed income sources, targeted investment strategies, and what we call distribution plans. That way, you are generating income, growing your wealth, and taking withdrawals efficiently and securing your assets for the future. I refer to it as different buckets of money. One, you're going to have a guaranteed source. One may be more savings, and one's designed more for growth.
Excellent insights. So let's take another quick break. But before we go, if you have any questions about your retirement accounts or want to build your own pension, get in touch with Mike and his team now. Call 614-414-3568 or scan that QR code on the screen now. Coming up, we have a segment focused on advanced investment strategies. Don't go anywhere. You're going to want to see this.
If you are still working and are age 59 and a half or older, did you know you have the ability to move your 401k or 403b into your own IRA? This is what we call an in-service transfer, and it helps you unlock options to utilize institutional money managers. This gives you more control over your investments with individual stocks, bonds, or the ability to generate guaranteed income through your retirement. Call to learn how an in-service transfer could be right for you.
Here comes another bonus segment, an extra look at the financial update just for you.
Is there such a thing as too rich? Most of us would love to have that problem, right? But it does happen to more families than you might think. Joining us to discuss is Mike Martinez, president of the Pension Group. Mike, what constitutes too rich?
Cabot, you'd be surprised to find out how easy it is to reach a level of income where you're, quote, too rich, at least in the government's eyes. We recently met with some viewers. It was a married couple who had a modest amount saved, but very healthy Social Security benefits they've earned over many, many years. And adding in their required minimum distributions was going to push them into a higher tax bracket in retirement. So in effect, they're going to pay more in taxes in retirement than they were when they were working. And that just doesn't seem right to them, or quite frankly to us.
Oh, so is there anything that couples like that can do to lower their taxes without necessarily lowering their income?
Everyone's situation's a little different, but in the case of this couple, we worked on a multi-year tax strategy to help them reduce the amount of taxable income they would be taking out of savings over those years, putting them into some tax-free options instead. Because buried in all those thousands of pages of tax code that seems to punish those who've saved well, there are also rules you can use to your advantage. You just have to know where to look.
Join the guys every Saturday and Sunday for the financial update, the latest retirement trends to keep you ahead of the game.
And we welcome you back. We're here with Mike Martinez of the Pension Group discussing how to maximize your retirement accounts. We've covered 401ks and pensions, and now it's time to get into the high-level strategies. You've said before that institutional investing and other advanced methods can be game changers, Mike. So what advanced strategies should viewers consider?
Well, you said it, advanced investment strategies. One advanced strategy is institutional investing, which includes investments in hedge funds, private equity, or real estate funds. These investments can often provide higher returns, but can come with increased risk as well. So your goals and risk tolerance should be weighted heavily there. Research shows that institutional investors can achieve superior returns compared to traditional investments. And high net worth individuals, institutions, and large companies utilize these styles of investing. Cabot, for example, someone who's nearing retirement and had a substantial amount in their 401k, by allocating a portion of their portfolio into private equity through a managed fund, they could be able to achieve potentially higher growth compared to a standard balanced fund. However, if it's essential to balance this with more conservative investments to mitigate risk.
Yeah, you got to keep that balance. So are these strategies right for everyone?
No, they're not, but no one strategy or plan is, or should it be. These strategies can be mixed with other investment vehicles like a fixed indexed annuity, for instance, that can provide guaranteed income, market participation with downside protection. In this scenario, one could achieve potentially higher returns and stable income. This strategy has a high upside potential, but mostly capped to those with significant investable assets. Others would benefit from traditional mixed income portfolios.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. So what are the common pitfalls, though, with these advanced strategies?
One common pitfall is over-leveraging or taking on too much risk without adequate diversification. It's critical to balance high-risk investments with more stable ones to protect against market fluctuation. But there are ways to maximize your accounts as well that really has been overlooked. Things like a in-service transfer or a rollover. This is really designed for people over age 59 and a half when they're still working. You can shift assets from an account like a traditional 401k into an IRA once you're 59 and a half, and you can still contribute to your company employer's plan. You're not really forced to retire, but now when you roll that money over, that gives you much more potential to look at different investment options. Maybe you want to have guaranteed income. Maybe you want to have more stocks and bonds, living on dividends. Or maybe you want to have that guaranteed source of income, or maybe have some of that money outside the market. Again, there's a lot of different strategies once you become 59 and a half, it's kind of like the government says, you know what? You're now old enough you can make your own decisions. But we also have a solution called brokerage link. And I know we talked a little bit about this a little bit earlier, Cabot, but let's say you're 45, you're working at a major corporation. There's a lot of companies out there today, Fortune 100 companies, that have added brokerage link, which gives you the opportunity to add different investments by working with a fiduciary to give you more options when it comes to your 401k plan.
Boy, I had no idea there were so many options out there.
There are, and the important thing is that you're being proactive and not just relying on your accounts from your own plan. And we've had situations where we've worked with chief engineers of major corporations where they've saved $1 million, $2 million within their 401k plans, or maybe you're at the factory and you saved $100,000. Again, we can work with anyone at any age to actively managing them, giving them more solutions. And I've been on radio for a long, long time, and I get a lot of times people come in for a meeting and say, Mike, I've heard you on radio, I've seen you on TV as well. And the reality of it is, I wish I would have met you 5-10 years ago, because I'd be in a much better place. And I tell people, look, now's the time to start. Don't procrastinate, because now if we can start working together, we can get you on the right track for retirement.
All right, solid advice there. Now, we've got one more segment, but let's give you contact info before, so that if someone out there wants to take advantage of one of the strategies you just talked about, like an in-service transfer, brokerage link, or institutional investing.
If you need any help with your retirement accounts, you can reach my team at 614-414-3568 or scan the QR code below. It's really that easy.
It is that easy. And coming up after the break, we answer some of the top retirement account questions in a game of true or false. You ready, Mike?
One of my favorite parts.
You were born ready, and we'll be right back.
One more bonus. Catch another glimpse of the 2-minute retirement update right now.
Did you know that your tax bill in retirement could be the single biggest bill you ever pay? That's why you need to plan to make sure you can keep every penny possible. With us today is Mike Martinez, president of the Pension Group, a firm that has been helping people build a more secure retirement for over 30 years. Mike, do taxes tend to take people by surprise in retirement?
They certainly do. Most people are shocked by how much they will be paying in taxes during their retirement. Many think that healthcare will be the biggest expense for retirees, but taxes can take even a bigger bite out of your nest egg.
So what, in fact, can we do about reducing that tax bill?
We just put together a plan for one of our viewers. When we looked at their income with pensions, Social Security, and required minimum distributions, it was going to push them into a higher tax bracket than when they were working. So we created a plan to shift from high taxable retirement accounts to tax-free accounts. And that could end up saving them around $150,000 over the course of their retirement. Then we implemented some income generating strategies to kick in a few years later to help provide funds for those growing costs in retirement. That way, they're preserving their current funds and growing more to really enjoy their retirement.
You can always see more of the financial update on Saturdays and Sundays. Retirement tips and strategies to help you build the retirement of your dreams.
If you have an annuity, this information is for you. The insurance companies won't tell you this, but with today's high interest rates, payments now could be 30 to 60% higher than your current annuity, which can mean significantly more money for your retirement. That's why we're helping our clients refinance their annuities to help maximize returns. This isn't the time to leave your retirement to chance, and these interest rates will be changing, so timing is everything. Call now to schedule your complimentary annuity review today.
And we welcome you back to the Financial Update. We're here with Mike Martinez, the president of the Pension Group, and this is our final segment. We've covered a lot of ground today, and now it's time for our true-false segment where we tackle common retirement myths. Let's dive right in, Mike. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, okay. So the first question. You should always withdraw funds from your 401k if you change jobs. True or false?
Is that really a question?
Yeah.
False. It's usually better to roll the money from your 401k into a new account to avoid taxes and really penalties, especially if you're over 59.5. Cashing out can lead to significant tax liability and early withdrawal penalties, so you need to be careful.
Good call. Next up, pensions are a set it and forget it type of retirement plan, right?
Totally false. I mean, a lot of people feel that my pension's protected, it's safe. You know, just a few years ago, we saw that interest rates climbed to the highest level since really 1972, the largest increase since 1972. And the reality of it is, people don't realize that they lost a significant amount of money. They thought it was safe. And the reality of it is, because interest rates they went up so high, people on average lost anywhere from $150,000 to $250,000 in their lump sum pension. We saw a gentleman out in California lose over $400,000 in their lump sum pension. So again, a lot of people don't understand how pension plans work. In fact, a lot of advisors don't. We specialize in this here at the Pension Group, so you can be prepared. And we've actually had people not too long ago retire early so they wouldn't lose $120,000. If that was you, Cabot, you know, if you ended up losing $120,000 of a lump sum pension, what would you do?
I'd pick up the phone and call you, I'm pretty sure, because I don't think I'd know what to do there. So we appreciate those are good points there. And here's the last one. You should invest aggressively, even as you approach retirement, to try and maximize returns for when you hang it up.
I would really say false. You know, it really comes down to someone's risk tolerance overall.
Yeah.
You know, if you really haven't saved, you know, you don't have a lot of money in retirement, the last thing you want to do is put it all in the stock market, you know, as retirement approaches. It's wise to gradually shift to more conservative investments. But again, we don't want to be too conservative. Again, we typically have a good balance between individual stocks and or bonds or mutual funds, ETFs, but reallocating portions of your portfolio to bonds or guaranteed sources like an annuity can be the greatest solution for many there.
Okay, well, all false there, I think you said. You were 3 for 3 on the false.
Yes.
Well, we can always count on you to give it to us straight, Mike. So we thank you for joining us. And that's a wrap for our show today. But for those watching who want to plan to maximize their retirement accounts, want to build their own personal pension, or need a plan to get them to the retirement they're dreaming of, Mike has a special offer. His team will sit down with you to map out a customized retirement plan just for you. This will include tax strategies that can help reduce or even eliminate your retirement tax bill, income plans, investment and healthcare strategies, and more. To help get you to the retirement that you deserve, call now, 614-414-3568, or scan the QR code on the screen to get started. Remember, proactive planning is key to a secure retirement. So stay informed and stay ahead. See you next time.